30 years after the cameras stopped rolling on South Central, the most haunting story isn't the one on the screen. It's the real-life tragedy of an actor who traded a movie prison for a seat on death row. Do you remember South Central in 1992? The film was a raw look at escaping gang violence, the cold steel of prison bars, and the blood-soaked cycle of the streets. But when the movie ended, the danger didn't. While many cast members moved on with their lives, one actor fell into a tragedy darker than any role he ever played. Years later, his name surfaced again, but this time it was on death row. Join us as we uncover who he really was and the chilling truth behind his descent. Carl Lumbley. The seasoned inmate whose wisdom guides a younger man toward redemption, Ali, was portrayed by. He was 41 years old at the time, serving as the film's moral anchor rather than its voice of violence. His role carried immense gravity, offering deep reflection instead of fury. Born August 14, 1951 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Carl Winston Lumbley's career was shaped more by resistance than opportunity. Despite commanding performances in To Sleep with Anger, Cagney and Lacey, and later Alias, racial typecasting forced him into years of professional limbo marked by unemployment, constant relocation, and deep financial anxiety. Recognition arrived slowly, often only after he had already endured its long absence. That struggle was compounded by profound personal loss. Lumbley's marriage to actress Vanetta McGee ended in tragedy when she died of cancer in 2010, a loss that reshaped his emotional life permanently. His later marriage to Deborah Santana unraveled in a 2019 divorce, strained by demanding schedules and emotional distance. As he aged, cardiovascular health issues required regular medical monitoring, layering physical vulnerability onto decades of accumulated grief. Now at 74 years old, Carl Lumbley remains active across film, television, and voice acting. Plummer. He was 31 years old at the time, carrying the film as a broken father whose entire purpose became stopping his son from repeating his crimes. That role set the tone for everything that followed in his life. Born August 18, 1961 in Richmond, California, Glenn E. Plummer entered Hollywood with promise that quickly collided with reality. After South Central, he delivered striking performances in Menace to Society, Speed, and Showgirls. Yet the industry repeatedly narrowed his path, offering supporting roles instead of the leading momentum his talent deserved. Racial bias in the 1990s stalled his ascent, turning professional momentum into long stretches of uncertainty, financial pressure, and a growing sense of invisibility within an industry he had helped define. As his career strain deepened, his personal life fractured. His marriage to DeMonica Santiago collapsed under the weight of unstable work, constant travel, and emotional exhaustion, ending in divorce in 2014. Around the same period, Plummer was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, a condition that demanded strict discipline and daily management, compounding his stress at a time when stability felt unreachable. Today, Glenn Plummer is 64 years old and continues working steadily in film and television, choosing persistence over the spotlight. His estimated net worth of approximately $2 million, built through decades of character roles and independent projects, reflects a career survived rather than celebrated. Lexie Bigham. He was just 24 years old, portraying a young man already sealed inside a world of violence, loyalty, and fatal impulsiveness. The role suggested raw potential, as if his career were standing at the edge of something much larger. Born August 4, 1968 in Illinois, Lexie Darnell Bigham Jr. entered Hollywood at a moment when competition for young black actors was brutal and unforgiving. After appearing in Boys in the Hood in 1991, a defining film of the era, expectations rose quickly, but opportunity did not follow. He pushed forward with roles in Dave in 1993 and Freeway in 1994, taking whatever parts were available to stay visible even as bigger names began to dominate the space he was trying to break into. As his resume grew, so did the pressure. Bigham landed a role in Seven in 1995, a film that would later become a modern classic, alongside appearances in television and supporting film roles that hinted at momentum. Yet the industry moved faster than his footing could stabilize. Auditions replaced security, short-term jobs replaced long-term plans, and the weight of proving himself before time ran out became constant. Sadly, Lexie Bigham died on December 17, 1995, at only 27 years old following a severe car accident in Los Angeles. His estimated net worth at the time of death was approximately $200,000, a stark measure of how brief his window truly was. His career did not end with failure, it ended with interruption, leaving behind a future that never had the chance to arrive. Nurse Shelley, the compassionate hospital nurse offering quiet mercy, was portrayed by Starletta Dupois. She was 51 years old, anchoring the film's emotional balance with restraint and empathy rather than drama. Her role reminded the audience that care can exist even in the aftermath of violence. Born July 18, 1941 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Starletta Dupois built her career in an industry that consistently limited women, especially black women, as they aged. Despite formidable training and talent, Hollywood kept her in supporting roles, forcing her to move constantly between theater and film to sustain herself. Appearances in films like Waiting to Exhale in 1995, Friday After Next in 2002, and later The Notebook in 2004 kept her recognizable, yet financial pressure shadowed much of her early and middle career. The stage became her both proving ground and her refuge. Dupois earned a Tony Award nomination for The Mighty Gents and widespread critical praise for performances in A Raisin in the Sun, Fences, King Hedley II, and The Piano Lesson. Still, acclaim did not equal security. An early divorce coincided with years of professional uncertainty, and the physical demands of theater work intensified as she aged. Over time, degenerative joint and bone issues added chronic pain to an already demanding career, forcing constant adjustment without slowing her output. Now, Starletta Dupois is 84 years old, respected as a veteran actress, mentor, and living bridge between stage and screen. Her net worth was estimated at $1.5 million, earned through more than 5 decades of disciplined work. Ray Ray, the calculating gang leader enforcing power through intimidation, was embodied by Byron Mins. He was 31 years old, projecting menace through control and silence rather than chaos. His character represented authority built on fear, not respect, a role that would quietly echo through his career choices. Born in 1961 in Atlanta, Georgia, Byron Keith Mins entered Hollywood as an actor in the early 1990s, appearing in projects that offered exposure but little permanence. After South Central, he continued working in film and television while searching for creative leverage, gradually realizing that acting alone would not provide longevity. Appearances in smaller roles and independent films kept him active, but inconsistent pay and limited advancement pushed him toward writing as a means of survival rather than reinvention. That shift came with risk. Mins invested time and resources into independent scripts and productions that often failed to break even, creating long stretches of financial instability. Yet those years also sharpened his voice. He emerged with Black Dynamite in 2009, serving as both writer and actor on a film that later became a cult classic, followed by continued involvement in projects such as Outlaw Johnny Black and other genre-driven works that reinforced his identity as a creator rather than just a performer. The progress was slow, earned through persistence rather than opportunity. Now at 64 years old, Byron Mins continues working both behind and in front of the camera, navigating an industry that rarely rewards patience. With an estimated net worth of approximately $1.2 million, accumulated gradually through acting, writing, and producing, his career stands as proof that survival in Hollywood sometimes means redefining success long after the spotlight moves on. Genie Lamp, the hostile rival fueling conflict, was embodied by Kevin Best. He was about 33 years old, delivering a sharp, confrontational presence that reinforced the film's atmosphere of constant threat. His character existed to escalate violence, not resolve it. Born February 26, 1959, in New York City, Kevin Best entered the industry with early promise but struggled to gain traction beyond genre roles. After appearing in Teen Witch in 1989, he continued working steadily in television and film, including guest roles on Hunter and his appearance in South Central. Yet none of these projects translated into a breakthrough, leaving his career stalled in mid-level visibility. As the years passed, Best remained active but constrained, repeatedly cast in minor antagonistic roles that offered little growth or recognition. The absence of major opportunities created ongoing professional tension, forcing him to accept smaller projects simply to remain present in the industry. His resume expanded, but his position never strengthened, creating a long stretch of uncertainty that quietly defined his working life. Today, Kevin Best is 66 years old and still living outside the spotlight with limited on-screen activity in recent years. His estimated net worth of approximately $400,000 reflects a career spent working without momentum, marked by persistence, frustration, and roles that rarely allowed him to move beyond the margins. Carol, the anxious mother trying to hold her family together, was portrayed by Loretta Shelby. She was 26 years old at the time, carrying the emotional weight of a parent trapped between fear and survival. Her role reflected the quiet damage left behind by street violence. Born March 1st in Nashville, Tennessee, Loretta "Jazzy Rita" Shelby entered Hollywood with discipline, education, and clear artistic purpose. However, she quickly encountered an industry that offered limited expansion for young black actresses, often confining them to short-lived supporting roles. After South Central, she appeared in widely watched television series such as The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Martin, later adding appearances on The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. While these credits kept her visible, they arrived sporadically, never compounding into sustained momentum or long-term security. Each role felt like a reset rather than a step forward, forcing her to constantly reintroduce herself to an industry that rarely invested in continuity. As acting opportunities fluctuated, Shelby made a strategic shift, not away from storytelling, but toward control. She became a prominent media voice through The Loretta Shelby Show for Armed Forces radio and television services, broadcasting to 57 countries and earning recognition during the Gulf War era. The platform allowed her to reach audiences far beyond Hollywood, proving her adaptability and resilience. Alongside media work, she continued acting in projects such as Black Sheep in 1996, while increasingly focusing on writing, producing, and teaching as sustainable extensions of her craft. Now 59 years old, Loretta Shelby remains active as an actress, media professional, and drama instructor working with at-risk youth. Ken Dog, a street-level enforcer caught inside the cycle of loyalty and violence, was embodied by Baldwin C. Sykes. He was 29 years old, playing a man shaped more by environment than choice. The role positioned him as part of the machinery that keeps violence moving forward. Born July 17, 1963 in California, Baldwin C. Sykes entered the industry during a moment when opportunity for black male actors was narrow and fiercely competitive. After appearing in Boys in the Hood in 1991, a cultural landmark, expectations rose quickly, yet leading roles never followed. Projects like Menace to Society passed him by, and despite continued work, Sykes found himself repeatedly confined to supporting parts that offered exposure without leverage. That pattern persisted as his career stretched into the 2000s. He appeared in films such as Not Easily Broken in 2009 and later Famous in 2023, maintaining steady employment but little recognition. Each credit extended his resume, yet the absence of breakout momentum created constant professional tension, forcing him to navigate an industry where consistency did not guarantee security. Today, Baldwin C. Sykes is 62 years old, still alive and working selectively. His estimated net worth of around $600,000, accumulated through decades of supporting roles, reflects a career defined by persistence. Loco, a volatile presence amplifying chaos, was portrayed by Vincent Craig Dupree. He was 37 years old, bringing raw unpredictability to a character designed to unsettle rather than explain. His role intensified the film's atmosphere of constant threat. Born around July 14, 1955, Vincent Craig Dupree built a career that leaned heavily into darker genres. Early visibility came through horror, most notably Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan in 1989, a film that cemented his association with menace and brutality. While the role made him recognizable, it also narrowed future casting. As years passed, Dupree continued appearing in genre projects, including South Central and later Eastwick in 2009, but mainstream opportunities remained scarce. Repeated casting as threatening figures restricted his range and income, creating long-term career strain. By 2025, Vincent Craig Dupree is 70 years old, still alive and working selectively. Broken Nose, the volatile street figure operating on the edges of violence, was portrayed by A. Michael Lerner. He was 35 years old at the time, delivering a raw, unsettling presence rather than a traditionally defined character arc. His role reinforced the film's atmosphere of constant danger. Born in 1957 in the United States, A. Michael Lerner built his career largely through supporting roles that demanded intensity but rarely offered recognition. After South Central, he appeared in projects such as Total Recall in 1990 and later Mercury Rising in 1998, often cast as rough-edged figures on the margins of society. While these films were high-profile, Lerner remained confined to brief, functional roles, a pattern that limited both creative growth and long-term security. As years passed, that confinement became its own pressure. Lerner continued working steadily in film and television, moving between crime thrillers and action projects where visibility was fleeting and competition relentless. The lack of breakthrough opportunities created ongoing professional strain, forcing him to accept roles that sustained his career but never elevated it beyond the supporting tier. Today, A. Michael Lerner is 68 years old and remains active within the industry, having sustained a long working life outside the spotlight. His estimated net worth of $1 million reflects decades of steady employment rather than stardom. Bastille, a hardened figure operating within the prison hierarchy, was brought to the screen by Reginald Dorsey. He was about 32 years old when he took on the role, presenting a man shaped by confinement and power rather than redemption. That performance bridged the film's street violence with the colder brutality of incarceration. Born in 1960 and raised between Dallas, Texas and San Jose, California, Reginald Todd Dorsey built his career through persistence rather than ease. After early momentum, he moved through television and independent cinema where opportunity was inconsistent and financial pressure constant. Projects like 21 Jump Street, Booker, and Return to Lonesome Dove in 1993 kept him working. Yet the transition between mainstream TV and independent film demanded sacrifice, long gaps between roles, and constant reinvention to stay visible. As the industry shifted, Dorsey leaned deeper into independent storytelling, appearing in and producing projects such as Kings of the Evening and Monogamy. While these films earned respect, they also carried financial risk, forcing him to balance creative control against economic uncertainty. The strain of sustaining a career outside Hollywood's center tested his endurance, even as his reputation quietly grew among filmmakers. Today, Reginald Dorsey is 65 years old, still alive and active as an actor, filmmaker, and mentor. With an estimated net worth of around $900,000, built through decades of independent work and selective roles, his career stands as a testament to resilience.